All right, so today we're going to be learning about special right triangles. So just like Pythagorean theorem, we're actually finding the missing sides of the triangle, but these are actually going to follow a pattern. So we're going to use the properties of either the 45-45-90 triangle or the properties of the 30-60-90 triangle in order to determine the sides of a right triangle. First, we're going to be looking at the 45-45-90. Okay, so if we're looking at that 45-45-90, as you can see in the picture here on the right, you notice that we have the right angle, and then the two base angles are 45 and 45. This is an isosceles right triangle, which means the two legs of the triangle are going to be the same measure. Okay, so they'll have that same value there. And then if we're finding the third or the hypotenuse, the third side, that's always going to be x. So the same number that you had for your legs times the square root of 2. Okay, so if we're looking at this and we're actually given one of the legs, okay, and we're trying to find the hypotenuse, we're going to multiply that number by the square root of 2. If we're given the hypotenuse, we're going to divide that number by the square root of 2 because we're looking for the leg. Now, if you're given the leg, right, and you're looking for another leg, it's just going to be the same number. Okay, so if you're looking for that leg, it'll be the same. It'll be that same number. So let's look at the chart there that's underneath. We're going to fill out the chart, right? Let's fill out the legs that we can because we're given the leg here on the first one. So that one's pretty easy, right? It's going to be the same. And then if we're finding that hypotenuse, if you notice up here, okay, we're multiplying by that square root of 2 again. So we're just going to have 5 square root of 2. Okay, if we're going backwards, right, this time they've given us the hypotenuse. So again, if we go back and look at our chart, right, we're given the hypotenuse. So we're looking for the leg. We're going to divide by the square root of 2. So if I divide 3 square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2, notice that those square roots of 2 will cancel each other out. It's actually making a value of 1, right? So our legs will be 3. So please try just the next one on your own. The other ones have like simplifying of radicals, so we're going to just do that next one on your own and give it a shot. All right, so you should have gotten 6 and 6, okay, for your legs. Now we're going to look at some of the more challenging of these where we actually have to simplify radicals. Notice that 10 doesn't have the square root of 2 there, but it is our hypotenuse. So we're going to take 10 and we're going to divide it by the square root of 2. Now you guys have not learned how to simplify radicals, but we're not actually allowed to leave the radical in the base of this equation. So we're going to multiply both the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. Okay, because that is a value of 1, so we're not actually changing the problem. And on the top, we're just going to have 10 square root of 2 over, okay, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Anytime you times two square roots, the number that's underneath the square root is just going to pop out if they're the same number, only if they're the same. Okay, so we're going to get 2 on the bottom. Okay, now if you just left 10 square root of 2 for this class, I would be perfectly happy because it means you're understanding the concept. Okay, so if we have 10 in this over 2, right, that simplifies to 5. So over here I'm going to write 5 square root of 2 and 5 square root of 2. Okay, again, these are a little more challenging and a little more beefed up. Okay, so now we have a leg, right? And the leg is 2 square root of 6. So we know the other leg will be the same, right? That's going to easily be 2 square root of 6. That's not changing. Now, what do we have to do in order to get our hypotenuse? We're going to have to multiply by the square root of 2. So if we do 2 square root of 6 times the square root of 2, Okay, when we're multiplying radicals, we just multiply underneath the radical, so we're going to get 2 square root of 12. And if you were to find that and leave that, I'd be perfectly happy with that. Okay, but I'm going to actually simplify this radical on the side over here. So if I have the square root of 12, right, I can go 2 and 6 and then 2 and 3. Notice I have a pair of 2's, so again, that 2 is going to pop out. So now I'm going to have 4 on the outside because 2 times 2 is 4, and the square root of 3 will be left. Okay, again, if you got this first one, I'd be happy with that one. Okay, but that last one is the more correct answer. Okay, so now we have 15. So again, just as we did up with the 10, okay, we're going to use the 15. So 15 divided by the square root of 2. Again, can't leave that in the base. So we're going to get 15 square root of 2 over 2. And that doesn't simplify, so that's going to stay that way. So we're going to have 15 square root of 2 over 2 for both of our legs. Okay, so now we have a leg that is 3 square root of 7. The other leg clearly is going to be 3 square root of 7. Okay, and now we have to multiply again by that square root of 2. So I want you to give that a try. See if you can get it on your own. Okay, and then push play again and see if you got the right answer. Okay, so here you should have gotten 3 square root of 14. Because the square root of 7 times the square root of 2 would give us the square root of 14. And then 2 and 7 are the only factors of 14, so you can't factor anything out. Please, again, pause this video and try that last one on your own, okay? And if you have any questions, we can talk about it the next time I see you after break. So here is the answer to this last one. Okay, please try the next 2 examples there on your own. The first one is very basic, and the first one's going to be the ones you'll mostly see from this class. Okay, it's going to be easy numbers for you to figure out. The second one has a little work to it. All right, so the first one I filled out for you there, that one you should have gotten very quickly, right? You've given a leg that was just 8, so the other leg will be 8, and then we multiply for the hypotenuse by the square root of 2. Now the second one here, they've given us 5 as our hypotenuse, right? So if we have our hypotenuse, we're going to divide by that square root of 2. Again, the radical can't be in the bottom, so multiply by the square root of 2 on the top and on the bottom. And we'll get 5 square root of 2 over 2, and we can't simplify that any further. So 5 square root of 2 over 2 and 5 square root of 2 over 2 would have been your answers there. Okay, so next we're going to be looking at the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay, so for the 30, 60, 90 triangle, the relationships here, if you look on the right, our angles are going to be 30, 60, and 90. Notice that the short leg is always the leg that is across from the 30-degree angle. Okay, that's your short leg. Your long leg is across from your 60. And your hypotenuse, again, is always across from the right angle. The relationships we're going to see here is that your short leg will always be your x value. So that's always your simplest value. Your hypotenuse is going to be 2 times whatever that number is. And then your long leg is the only complicated one, and it's going to be root 3 times our short leg, kind of like the 45, 45, 90, except it's root 3 instead of root 2. So again, if you look in the chart that I've given you, okay, if you're given the short leg and you're asked for the hypotenuse, you're going to multiply by 2. If you're given the short leg and looking for the long leg, you're going to multiply by the square root of 3. Okay? Now, the other parts are if you're given the long leg and the hypotenuse. And then they say you're always trying to find the short leg. Always go back to the short leg if you need to find either the long leg or the hypotenuse, if you're given either the hypotenuse or the long leg. So if you're given the long leg, you're going to always find your short leg by dividing by the square root of 3. And then you'll go back and use the short leg in order to find that other piece that you need. Okay, so if you're given the hypotenuse, you're going to divide by 2 in order to get that short leg. So let's look at a few examples. Okay, so again, the top ones are going to be our simpler ones, and as we work our way down, they're going to get more difficult. So they tell us the short leg is 6. Okay, the hypotenuse is the easiest one to find. 6 times 2, right, gives us 12. And then lastly, the long leg, okay, 6 times that square root of 3. So again, that was the most basic. Okay, still basic here on the second one. We're given 20. In order to get the short leg, we're going to divide 20 by 2. So we get our short leg to be 10. So again, we're given the hypotenuse, we found the short leg first, and then we use the short leg to find the long leg. So 10 square root of 3. Because remember, the long leg is whatever you have for your short leg times the square root of 3. So they've given us the long leg in the next example. Okay, 4 square root of 3. Go back to the short leg, okay? Divide 4 square root of 3 by root 3, right? And if there's one on the top and the bottom, they'll cancel. So we're left with 4. Now times 4 by 2 in order to find your hypotenuse. Okay? All right. So our next example, we have 2 square root of 3, right? And now to find that long leg, we have to multiply by the square root of 3. So we have 2 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. And now remember, when we're multiplying radicals that have the same number underneath, that number pops out. So it's actually 2 times 3, which gives us 6. Okay? And then we're just going to multiply 2 square root of 3 by 2. Now you can only multiply like terms, so notice the 2 and the 2 are like, but it's not a square root. So you just multiply 2 by 2, and you get 4 square root of 3. Okay, for the second to last example, we're given 8. Okay, so we're going to go to that short leg, 8 divided by the square root of 3. Okay, we're going to rationalize that denominator by multiplying the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. We're going to get 8 square root of 3 over 3, which can't simplify any further, so we're going to leave it like that. Okay, and then we're going to multiply that by 2. When you're multiplying by 2, it's like multiplying by 2 over 1, so you multiply the top by 2 and you get 16 square root of 3 over 3. And that would be where we would leave it. Okay, again, if you got that, the 8 divided by the square root of 3 in this class, like, I would not be mad at you. Okay, because that means you're understanding the concept. So we have the hypotenuse here, and we're just going to divide that hypotenuse by 2 in order to get our short leg, and that's going to give us 4 square root of 6. Okay, and then to get our long leg, it's going to be 4 square root of 6 times the square root of 3. Okay, when we multiply, we bring the 3 underneath and multiply by the 6. We're going to have 4 square root of 18. Okay, and over to the side, I'm going to see if anything pops out of 18. I have 2 and 9, and then 3 and 3. So notice that 3 will indeed pop out. So 3 times 4 is 12. And then left underneath the radical is the 2 I had remaining. Okay, so please try the following 2 examples on your own. Okay, again, A is going to be the simplified version and more of the version we're going to be seeing. Okay, and then B is more of that challenge problem. That might be like an extra credit problem. It's not going to be one that you'll see often in this class. So please give A a try and we'll look at B together. All right, so for A, you should have gotten 5 and 5 square root of 3. Okay, now let's look at B. We're given the hypotenuse, right? It's across from the right angle. So we're going to divide it by 2 in order to find our short leg, which gives us 2 square root of 3 for our short leg. That's always across from our 30-degree angle. Okay, and then we're going to multiply 2 square root of 3 by the square root of 3 in order to find our long leg. So we're going to get 2 times 3, which will give us 6. Okay, so after this video, you're going to be working on a puzzle activity. So please pull that out and enjoy your holiday movie while you're working on that sheet. And please be nice to the sub.